Alright, hello again. So much to talk about. The one thing that strikes me is how we are in such an amazing position at this point in time, and yet we don't really feel it. We don't, in many instances, we don't really experience it, not yet. And Ray, if I can use the example you gave earlier, you wake up in the morning, and how do you feel?
Another day.
Another day. Here we go. Here we go again. Now, I confess, I feel the same way Ray does. I wake up in the morning and I roll painfully out of bed. I just want to go back to sleep. But here's the interesting thing about that. When you wake up first thing in the morning, that's your heart that's talking. Your heart is the first thing to wake up. And then your higher cognitive abilities eventually come, maybe after a coffee or after about half an hour, right? That's when your mind kicks in. But when you first wake up, the way you feel and the things you think, that's your heart talking. Alright? Now it's very important to understand that, because lately we've been talking about crossing the bridge. And you need your heart to cross that bridge. So when your heart wakes up in the morning and says, oh my goodness, here we go, another day. Just like me, just like Ray. Those are hearts that need a bit of work. They need a bit of work to get moving. They need a bit of work to get us to where we want to go. And I would venture to say a lot of us have hearts like that. Hearts that are tired, hearts that are broken, hearts that are in pain. Hearts that just say, oh yeah, here we go, another day. But that's okay. That's where we are. But that's what we have to deal with, and they can be dealt with because the Lord's been good, and He's been showing us every step of the way. So what we're going to do this morning is just revisit some things from the past in order to help us move forward. Okay? We've been talking about trust a lot. We've been talking about the heart a lot. Does anybody have any testimonies or experiences or thoughts about that? Has anyone tried to cross that bridge? You guys both raised a very important point, and it's indicative of where a lot of us are right now, and that is that trust is always a last resort. When we have a problem or an issue, we go any which way we can to find a solution, and then when we find nothing and no one can help us, reluctantly we trust the Lord. Right? And that also shows our dependence on ourselves. It shows our dependence on our own resources, our dependence on our knowledge, our contacts, our friends. But it also shows that we don't want to go to the heart. Alright? Ray mentioned trust as a last resort. What's powerful and important about that, about us right now, is that the Lord is calling us to make trust the first resort. If you want to cross that bridge, trust has to become your first resort before anything else in every area. Okay? So there's clearly no shortage of testimonies about the power of trusting God. Amazing miracles, right? I can't think of one time at all, whether it's amongst us or in the Bible, where someone trusted God and they let them down and nothing happened. Right? There is amazing power in trusting God. And I have two quick testimonies I'm going to share. I'm not going to take too much more time. You guys have all heard. I've spoken about the spiritual attacks in our home. I don't warfare anymore. I simply trust God to deal with them, and He does. And they end very quickly. I don't say anything. All I say is, Lord, please stop this. And He does. It ends. At the moment, I've got a job that's very, very physically demanding, possibly the toughest job I've ever had in my life. But I was at work, I think, 2 days ago. And 2 hours into a 6-hour shift, I was really fatigued and I thought I was going to pass out. And I don't know how I was going to make the next 4 hours. And I didn't want to tell anyone, because if I told anyone, they'd make me go home, go get checked up at the doctors, and very likely I probably wouldn't get any more work. They just wouldn't want to risk me there. So I couldn't do anything. I had to get through the next 4 hours. And then the supervisor tapped me on the shoulder and said, look, we've got a lot more work, we need you to stay 8 hours. Right? So I ended up working 10 hours that day. And when I heard that, my heart just sank. I thought, how am I going to survive this? But what I did is I trusted the Lord. Lord, again, no grand prayer, nothing elaborate. Lord, I need help here, can you help me? And I trusted Him to help me. And within minutes, I was energized. I was infused with power. And I went like a rocket for the next 8 hours, right? And I finished, and I almost ran out of the workplace. I was just so feeling so good. Okay? The other night, this was 3 nights ago, I had a very bad toothache. And my jaw was aching as if I'd been kicked in the head. Right? And I thought, no, it's going to pass, Come 3 a.m., I still hadn't fallen asleep. I had to work the next day. And I thought, I can't do this. This is not going away. It's getting worse. So I got up out of bed and I went and sat in the lounge, half asleep, trying to stay awake. And I simply just trusted the Lord. And within minutes, that pain disappeared. It disappeared completely. And I was able to go back to bed and fall asleep. Okay, so what I'm witnessing, what I'm slowly starting to realize is that there is huge capacity to trust the Lord with a lot of things. There's a lot of power to cover a lot of problems, a lot of issues and challenges. But it's up to us to take incremental steps in those directions. You know, right now when Gracie and Mikey get attacked spiritually, I know without any doubt the Lord's going to help. So it's not hard to trust Him. And when I go to Him, my heart just it flops out. It just trusts Him automatically because it's tasted His goodness and His faithfulness. I know He's going to help. So I can trust Him immediately. When I was at work and I was feeling bad, you know, that's when the doubts creep in. Can the Lord help me here? Can He help me? Will He help me? That's what you wrestle with, right? That's the sort of stuff you have to overcome. But when you overcome it, He steps in and helps. Right? So the next time I go through that, it's going to be a lot easier. Right? Just like with the toothache. I've never been able to deal with a toothache like that before. So it's taking steps forward, and each of these steps take you over the bridge. Little steps, right? They take you further and further. You know, first we pray against spiritual attacks, then trust about spiritual attacks, then it's about pain, then it's about workplace issues, but then it starts becoming about bigger and bigger things, right? Now, the Lord helped me with my toothache, which was great, but I think the issue is still there. So now I have to trust Him for healing. Right? Whatever it was that caused me fatigue in the workplace, yeah, the fatigue went away, but there might be another issue there to deal with. So you see, there's bigger steps to take. Healing here, healing there. And that's one of the things He wants to teach us. To grow in our ability to trust Him over bigger and bigger things. You see, the more we can trust Him with, the more we can release His power into our lives, into our issues, into the world around us. And He wants us to learn that. Okay? He doesn't want you worrying about whether you're going to get $1 to buy some food. He wants you to worry about feeding the homeless in your whole neighborhood. Right? Amazing things, miracles, amazing. He wants to release His power through you, but He needs you to bring yourself to a position where He can do that. Right? So you need to learn to trust for bigger and bigger things. And it begins with small steps. It begins with small things. We've been called to cross that bridge. And what I'll suggest to you is this. I've asked you before, right? And I'll ask you again. If you're keen, take us a problem to Him and simply trust Him with it. Right? Psalm 28:7. My heart trusted in Him and I am helped. Take something small to Him. Something you can easily trust Him with and see what happens. Just taste it. Taste the power of what He can do in your life when you trust Him. And when you do that, you'll take the first step over the bridge. Okay? What's interesting is Psalms talks a lot about trusting the Lord and how good it is, and how powerful it is, how necessary it is. But Proverbs 6:5 says, trust Him with all your heart. See, so there's a progression, because it is possible to trust Him, but it's a little bit harder to trust Him with all your heart. Okay, as Karen just covered in her testimony. And your testimony was really good, but we'll get to that. You see, the thing is, if you have trouble crossing that bridge, opening your heart completely and trusting completely to cross over the bridge, what you can do is you can trust the Lord to help you cross that bridge. Right? Trust Him in order to help you with the issues of your heart so that you can end up crossing over the bridge. And for those of you that don't know what we're talking about when it comes to crossing the bridge, what's on the other side of the bridge is what was mentioned in Revelation 2:7. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To him who overcomes, I will give to eat from the tree of life, which is in the midst of a paradise of God. On the other side of the bridge, on the other side of an open heart that trusts fully in the Lord and completely, is the tree of life. And you can eat anything you need and want from that tree of life. But in order to get there, you have to trust. You have to trust with an open heart. And you may need help to get to that point. You may need help, again, as Karen mentioned. You may need help with the issues of your heart so that you can get there. Alright? So Psalm 28:7. I trusted him with an open heart and I am helped. Leads you to Proverbs 6.5. Trust him with an open heart, with a full heart. I forget. And lean not on your own understanding. Okay? 3:5. Sorry, yes, 3:5. Anyway, so what I want to get to is this, right? There's been a lot of questions that have come in about trusting the Lord and how do you do that? And I was telling Helena earlier, I had a dream and the Lord said, go back to the beginning. Okay, so we can cover some of the foundations about this teaching. So in 2020, I believe it was, the Lord told me that He wanted to reveal an ancient practice. He wanted to bring it back to us, right? And that practice was meditation. All right. Now, I spoke about it a number of times back then, but I don't think it took root. But now that we've come as far as we have, it's easy to appreciate what it does and what meditation is and what it's intended for. But before I do that, let me just get into just a handful of scriptures. The first time we read about meditation is in the book of Genesis 24. And it says, Now Isaac came from the way of Beer Lahai Roi, for he dwelt in the south. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field in the evening. And he lifted his eyes and looked, and there the camels were coming. First time we read about meditation. A famous one that I think we all know, Joshua 1:3. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate in it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. So the Lord links prosperity and success to meditation. Not just meditation in general, but meditation upon the Word. Psalms 1, and in His law He'll meditate day and night. In Philippians 4, finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there's any virtue, and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Okay? Meditation is very powerful, and for reasons a lot of us don't know. Don't yet know. But what is it, the last one? 1 Timothy 4:15. Meditate on these things, give yourself entirely to them, that your progress may be evident to all. Meditation is linked to progress. Progress is something we all want. Okay? So here's the thing about meditation. I can't repeat the entire teaching, but I'll summarize it in a nutshell. Meditation it takes what's in your mind, it takes your knowledge, and it translates it and interprets it for your heart. Okay? Whatever it is you meditate upon, it becomes food for the heart. Okay? So if I can use your example, Irene, you were saying, you were imagining all the bad that could happen, right? All the possibilities, right? That is actually a form of meditation. Okay? Because in your imagination, there are conceiving possibilities that can happen, not good ones, But what they end up doing is they end up terrifying the heart. Your heart gets freaked out and really scared, right? That's what meditation is. It's not the New Age thing. We're not talking about New Age practices here. We're not talking about emptying yourself and engaging with anything that comes to you. What we're talking about is, it mentions it in Colossians 3:2. We set our minds on things above and not on things of this earth, right? You fill your mind with truth, and you fill your mind with God's Word. And what that does is it creates an open door to the kingdom. It creates a door through which God can do things. He can impart things to you. He can show you things. You can receive revelation. But you also communicate with your heart. See, meditation, the Lord told me, is a means of acceleration. So if you want to change your heart quickly in the direction you want it to go, and in this case it's trust. If you want to trust the Lord, you've got to show your heart whatever it needs to make that shift, that change, right? So, think about it this way. Whatever it is you meditate on and you focus on and imagine, you're sort of creating like a movie, right? Like a movie on a movie screen. And whatever you put on that screen, your heart watches. Okay? And it responds to that. We mentioned before, the heart's like a little child. The little children are very little discernment. They'll often believe whatever it is they're shown. Okay? So if you show your heart all the possibilities of anything that may go wrong, it's going to get terrified. It's not going to have the ability to reason. Alright? In the same way, when you show your heart good things, it's going to receive it and it's going to respond accordingly. So when I say trust in the Lord, what I mean is open your heart to the Lord. And the way to do that is show your heart good things. So meditate on things that are good. Meditate on the goodness of God. Right? Rima had a beautiful word earlier, right? And that's a perfect example I'd like to get into a bit later. Something to meditate on. The Lord's always with you. He's always by your side. When you trip and fall, He's always there to pick you up. Okay? So we hear that, it lands in your head. But if you take that and you just sit quietly and you meditate on it and you visualize it and you imagine yourself in a difficult situation with the Lord right by your side. You've tripped and fallen, you're struggling, and He bends down to pick you up. You visualize that, you engage your imagination as much as you can. Your heart's going to see that and it's going to respond to that. And it's going to respond by opening up. It's going to respond by trusting Him. Alright? And the more of that you do, the more you feed your heart that way, the more it's going to open up. The more it's going to trust Him, because the more it's going to see how good He is. Alright? When your heart sees how good God is, the natural response is for your heart to trust Him. But you have to show your heart how good He is. Alright? And you do that through meditation. Alright? Now you can meditate upon anything you like. Anything that helps. Some things may help, some things not. But that is a beautiful picture. That's a perfect picture. The Lord with you. I mean, 2 weeks ago, Helena was saying, the Lord's in the boat with you. Right? You're in the storms and you're getting thrown around, but the Lord's in the boat with you. Visualize that. Visualize that. See, the thing is, a lot of people think imagination is something for kids, for children, and we dismiss it. We don't engage with it anymore. But it has a very, 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 very powerful purpose, especially at this point in time. And that is meditation in conjunction with your imagination has the capacity to affect your heart. And when your heart is affected that way, it accelerates you. It accelerates you and it gets you moving faster than you would under natural circumstances. Alright? So the more powerfully you learn to meditate, the more powerfully you learn to use your imagination, the more your heart will be affected, the more you'll be able to trust, and the more God's power you'll be able to engage in your life. Okay? Does that make sense? That is how you trust the Lord. That is how you trust the Lord. So, again, trust is not a decision. It's not a head thing. You don't think, I'll trust the Lord. It's about the heart. It's all about your heart, and you have to use whatever tools are available to you so that your heart opens up. Alright? If you really want to really want to walk in the power of God, arguably the best way to do it. Because this breaks down the limits. It is all about the heart. Our hearts are naturally closed up and clogged up due to trauma and other things. Here's the thing. The heart is clammed up and it's closed up because it's been hurt and broken. But meditation has the capacity to temporarily open your heart up to the Lord. Right? Even though it's broken and in pain, when you meditate, it has the capacity to open your heart. Okay? And when it opens, it's free to receive the power of God, the love of God, the healing from God. Okay? And so yeah, meditation temporarily opens up the heart so that you can receive what you need to heal your heart so that it becomes more free in its ability to trust the Lord. Okay? So what I'm saying here is this. Learn to trust the Lord in small things. Teach the heart that the Lord is good. Teach the heart that the Lord will give you what you want. He will help you. And then gradually you're going to receive the healing that you need that's going to help your heart open up more and more and more. And then before you know it, you will cross that bridge and you'll be in front of the tree of life. Okay? Alright? Does that make sense? But not to complicate things, all I'm encouraging you all to do is one thing. Just take one thing in your life, whatever that issue is. Make it a small one. Trust the Lord with it and see what happens. Alright? As Ray said, as we've talked about before, trust in the Lord is something we do as a last resort. Because we don't want to get our hearts involved. Our hearts don't want to get involved. And that's why it's so hard. That's why we're making very little progress in this space. Because naturally we just hold back. The heart just doesn't want to know. But once you taste it, you're not going to turn it back. Once you taste it, you're going to want more. Once the heart learns and tastes the goodness of God, it wants more. Yeah? See, the heart thinks it knows best. It thinks, no, I'm going to stick to myself. I'm good, thank you very much. Just leave me alone and do your own thing. Right? But once you get your heart out of its shell and you show it how good God is, it's going to come out more and more. And that is really when you're going to start tasting supernatural stuff. You're going to start experiencing the supernatural, because that's when God can interact with you to a far greater extent. Okay? Now, again, I'm going to ask, take that first step over the bridge. Bring one thing to the Lord and simply trust Him with it. Okay? Now, and again, by trust, I don't mean hope for the best. I don't mean just say the words, I trust you. Meditate. Alright? So, for example, this is something the Lord actually showed me in 2020. Bring something to the Lord, imagine this, right? And see Him in front of you and say, Lord, I have this issue, will you help me with it? Alright? And you picture it in your mind. It's very important that you imagine it so that your heart can see it. Can you help me with this? And imagine what He would do and what He would say. Imagine what He looks like. Imagine Him smiling at you. Alright? Whatever it is that you imagine, your heart's going to take it in and it's going to receive it. Alright? The more of that you do, your heart's going to trust Him more and more. And eventually you're going to get to a point that you're going to trust Him so much that your heart's simply going to believe that He's going to do it for you. You're going to believe without doubting, right? Which is talked about in the Gospels. As a mustard seed, believe without doubting, it'll be done for you. Right? When you trust Him to such a degree, through meditation, you're going to get to a point where you believe without doubting, and it will be done for you. Okay? You're going to receive whatever it is that you're looking for. Alright? So that's me putting things plainly. When I say trust the Lord, open your heart. Open your heart by meditating on Him and with the thing that you want. To get your heart to trust Him, open up to Him until you get to a point that you can believe purely and things will be done for you. You will be helped. You will most certainly be helped. Alright, so one other thing I can recommend, right, for anyone who's on this journey and who's interested in moving further. Helena mentioned this last week. In these teachings, listen to them over and over again. Listen to them over and over. I'll make some more confession here. When I finish talking and I sit down, what I said up here is a blur. I don't know. I don't remember what I've said. I go home and I listen to my own teaching, right? And when Jody catches me, I get embarrassed. But I do. I listen to my own teaching. And I listen to it again and again. Because I get a lot out of it. Because I say things that I often never plan to say. Right? And I know the Lord, I can feel His heart in certain things that I say. I know where the emphasis is, so I know what's important. So, my recommendation to you is this: listen to the recordings over and over again to get the most that you can out of it. Because a week later, I can guarantee you, most of it's forgotten, right? And the teachings that come, they're very dense. There's a lot in them, and it's just helpful to get as much of that in as you can. Now, also, what I'll also suggest is let the Lord help you on this journey of crossing the bridge. Don't try and do it on your own. He'll show you what needs to be done. He'll show you where there's work to do. You know, let Him help you. Invite Him into the process. There is no instruction, guys, on how to cross that bridge. There's no book available. No one can possibly write a book that can help you cross over that bridge. Okay? And this is something we've said before. You can't use the tree of knowledge of good and evil to get you to the tree of life. Okay? 1 Corinthians 2:9 is indicative of what's on this table for us. But as it is written, what no eye has seen nor ear heard, nor the heart of man imagined, what God has prepared for those who love Him. That's what's on the table, right? That's what we can eat from the tree of life. But what's interesting is what's at the end. For those that love Him. That's who it's for, right? Because those that love Him trust Him. It doesn't say for those that know how to get there. Okay? So if you ask, how do I get to the tree of life? How do I cross that bridge? No one can give you an answer. There is no answer. Right? Because this is something that's done with the heart. That's something that's done with an open heart. And it's something we do. We trust the Lord. We learn to trust Him deeply. And that will get us there. But that takes practice, not instruction. No one can help you get there. No one can tell you how to get there. It's through practice. Because as you practice, you learn about your heart. You learn about the issues of your heart. You learn what you have to overcome. And you do overcome it. And you take your steps forward. And eventually you find yourself at the tree of life. But it takes practice. The way to the tree of life is through the heart. It's not through the head. Not through your mind. So instruction won't get you there. Practice will get you there. Okay? And practice begins with meditation. Meditate on good things about the Lord and see what effect it has on your heart. Experience the power of a heart that opens up like a flower because it senses and tastes the goodness of God. Right? And there are things to overcome, right? Where is it? Yeah, Revelation 2:7. To him who overcomes, I will give to eat from the tree of life. I know a lot of us are battling a lot of things at the moment, me included, Jody included. It's a barrage. We're just getting knocked around left, right and centre. But that is the stuff you have to overcome. You have to overcome the issues of your heart. You have to overcome the enemy who's going to throw everything at you. Alright? You have to overcome bad thinking, like what Ray was talking about. Everything. You know, there's a bit of work involved. It all has to be overcome, and it can be overcome, but you have to practice overcoming it. You're not going to overcome it in one giant leap. You're certainly not going to overcome it in your first attempt. Alright? You have to navigate the territory, you've got to see what's there, and you've got to learn, you've got to overcome one thing at a time, and then you cross the bridge. We are called to amazing things. We've been offered things that no one has ever tasted before. Amazing promises. But it requires quite a commitment on our part. Right? And I do pray that we're all on this journey, we'll get to taste of it. But, it says in Revelation, to him who overcomes. So I pray that you are all overcomers, right? And I hope and pray that you're all willing and able to take part. All right. I think I'm going to end it there. But guys, did that make sense? I try to present everything in a nutshell. Very, very straightforward. Any questions at all? That's a very important point. Those are two of the biggest things, three of the biggest things that have to be overcome as you cross that bridge. The enemy's going to try and stop you from crossing that bridge with fear, doubt, and unbelief. Okay? Like Rima was saying, you've got to believe with your heart. But if you're listening to things and you're around people that are speaking negatively, your heart's going to pick up on that as well. And then all of a sudden it's going to be saying, I don't know, can I really trust the Lord? Is anything going to happen? And that doubt just cripples everything. It just slows everything down. So you've really, part of the battle, part of overcoming and crossing that bridge is learning to filter out all the nonsense. All the enemy's attempts to slow you down and shut you down. Fear, doubt and unbelief, and all of that is going to come through your senses. Again, I've spoken about the spiritual attacks in our home. I know the little ones are crying and screaming and they're upset because there's stuff that's attacking them. I have to go sit somewhere in the house where I can't hear them, right? Because the drama in my ears, it just brings doubt. It just interferes. It gets so hard. But when I'm in silence, I'm able to trust the Lord completely. And that's where things happen. So thank you. You've got to filter all of that out. Any questions, anyone? Thank you. And on that note, guys, on the YouTube channel, there are the old teachings on meditation. So if you want to listen to that in more detail, by all means do so. But I'm going to end it on that point. But please do, just try and take that first step. And you'll see what it is a new thing. It is the new thing that God is doing. And but you have to taste it for yourself. Yeah. That's a very, very good point. The word encourages so many times. Remember what the Lord has done for you. So many times we're exhorted. Remember what He's done for you. Right? That in itself is a form of meditation. Because you're recalling those memories, you're replaying them in your mind, in your imagination. And your heart sees that. And it responds and it helps you trust Him. Right? Karen was talking earlier about the attitude of gratitude. When you start replaying things in your mind about all the good things that you have, all the good things that you have to be grateful for, when you do that consciously, it's a form of meditation. Your heart sees that, it responds to that. Right? And this is the stuff we have to learn. These are the tools necessary that bring your heart and position it necessary for you to cross over that bridge.
Jimmy.
Yes.
I know a couple of situations, but obviously we would like to trust and get health resolutions, big health resolutions, whatever issue that you've got in your life. And I know of two cases of people with diabetes, and they believe that they could be healed. And both those two people, one ended up dying and another ended up very sick. And so the medical system had to drag them out. Now maybe they were weak in their own thoughts when they went into that process of trusting. I don't know. But what I'm saying, I can see a dangerous situation when people are going to seek their health to be healed and put themselves at risk. We've got the medical system there. I don't want to use the medical system per se, but I just see that danger.
There is a danger. There is a danger if it's not done correctly, right? So when I say trust the Lord, I'm not at all suggesting cutting out the legal system, or staying at home by faith, or staying back from doctors because you trust the Lord. By all means, engage. Do what you need to do. Do what you need to do. Be careful what you're taking. Listen to them by all means. But what should be first and foremost is trusting the Lord. And then He will guide you and He'll lead you. Right? When you trust Him with like an illness, for example, He may tell you to continue with the medical approach. You know what I mean? We don't exclude anything, we don't stop anything. Because when we do something like that, that's dangerous, it is a mistake. Right? When you trust Him, you bring Him in and you allow Him to lead you. But until that time comes, you do what you have to do and you use what's available to you. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the amazing testimonies. Thank you for participating. Thank you for the questions. As always, let me know if you have any questions or you want to talk about anything. If you want to ask something anonymously, please just fill in a piece of paper, drop it in that box, and we'll answer it at the next meeting. But I think it's time now to move into communion.